Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to my new video. So Maduro has been paraded around New York like he's some sort of celebrity. They are driving him around New York with the windows open. People are taking selfies with him and posting it online. Soldiers have been taking selfies with him and posting it online. Absolutely barbaric, guys. This is barbarism. Blatant disregard of international law. The fact that Trump can go to another country's, kidnap the president, a sitting president, and take him to the United States. I mean, this is absolutely crazy. And um, and obviously Maduro has basically said not guilty to the charges. They've dropped the drugs charges, by the way. But really doesn't matter because at the end of the day, Trump has said that, they're just going to go for the oil. He doesn't really, all these drugs, everyone knows these drugs charges and all these other charges are just made up. Trump wants the oil and he's also doing it to please his Israeli friends, his Zionist friends. He's backed by all of his Israeli lobby. All of his friends or close friends are pro-Israel. And Maduro has been very vocal and he's been very anti-genocide, and because of that, they decided to take him out. And regards to the oil, guys, I mean, Venezuela's oil has been under sanctioned for years now, and I think they managed to produce around 700,000 barrels per day. Used to be 300, I mean, used to be 3 million before the sanctions. So for United States to go into Venezuela, they have to rebuild all the oil infrastructure and they have to build roads and obviously rail lines, and there's a lot of infrastructure that needs to be done. There needs to be new pipes, new refineries, and all of that is going to cost the United States a lot of money. You remember the time when the United States went into Iraq and they said Iraq's got a lot of oil, we're going to make a lot of money from the oil, but did they make money? No, guys, they went broke. During the Iraq invasion in 2008, do you remember the financial collapse in 2008? That was the time they were still in Iraq. So going into another country, stealing its oil is never going to work because the amount of money you need for infrastructure, first of all, and then you need to obviously pay for all the security and pay for all the maintenance and stuff like that. And Venezuela is not going to make it easy. There's going to be guerrilla attacks. There's the new government obviously have been sworn in, and the new government has basically they have said that they are supporting Maduro. They are not going to allow US to go into Venezuela and steal its resources. So they're not going to make it easy for United States. And Trump has said here it's going to be up to 18 months for them to go up and running in Venezuela. I don't think that's the case. I think it's going to take 5 to 10 years, guys, because you've got to build it all the infrastructure first. That's going to take at least 5 to 10 years. And by then, who knows what will happen? There could be more guerrilla attacks. There will be, obviously, there's a lot of people who do not want American military boots on the ground, so they're going to fight. And even though they didn't fight now, but I believe when the people of Venezuela see that America's there to steal all their wealth and they're not going to give anything back to the Venezuelan, because Venezuelans are pretty poor at the moment. They're having lots of economic issues. They have a lot of inflation. But when the Americans come in, they're not going there to steal the oil to help the people. All that oil is going to go to big, oil businesses, and it's going to basically pay for Trump's friends and all the oligarchs, oil barons, and things like that. So all that money is going to go to Trump's friends' pockets. They're not going to go to the Venezuelan people, and it's not going to go to the American people. So the Venezuelans are going to see that very fast, and they're going to fight, and they're not going to allow this to happen very, very. They're not going to allow America to take all that wealth and fight, and there will be people that will fight. So I think this is going to take at least 5, 10 years. They're going to have to build lots of security. infrastructure, roads, ports, railways, and things like that. So this is not going to be up and running within 18 months. And I think America's going to go broke before then, well before then. So it's not as easy as people claim, guys. If it was easy, then then anyone could go to any country and steal its resources. They are not going to allow it that easily. So stealing Maduro is not going to stop the Venezuelan government. I think they're going to continue Maduro's policies. They are pretty much anti-imperialistic government. If America wants to go into Venezuela and change the government, they're going to have boots on the ground. I don't think Trump wants that, because once you have boots on the ground, you're going to have lots of casualties. So so we'll see how it develops. So there's a lot of online debate happening, talking about China, saying, why is China not helping? Why is China so silent? China has come up with a statement saying US needs to release Maduro as soon as possible, but that's not really much action. I think what people were expecting is China to do more, if not militarily, but at least place sanctions, or stop this from happening to their friends and stuff. So, I mean, I made a video about this yesterday, and there's a lot of debates happening, not only in the United States, in Twitter and stuff, but there's also lots of debates happening in China as well, in Chinese social media. So people in China saying that people in China are saying that the government of China should do the same thing in Taiwan. They should fly in, snap the president, and take over the country. That's what some Chinese netizens are saying. Other netizens are saying that China needs to be more patient. They are not the US. I think they can reunify peacefully within the next few years, because the DPP is losing support and the KMT is gaining support. So I think they're asking China to be more patient. My thoughts are, so I've gave my thoughts yesterday's video, but again I'll say this again. I'll say that China is patient. They are a 5,000 year civilization, and they are a very patient country, and full of very patient people. And I think time is on China's side. There's no rush to get Taiwan right now. Taiwan has been separate from the mainland since 1949, since the Civil War. So there is no rush to get it back. China will get it back at their time of choosing. And the only time, they will rush it is if Japan or America intervenes, if they start putting boots on the ground in Taiwan, or if they, start developing nuclear weapons or something urgent, then they will kind of fast track that schedule. But as it stands, I think China is very patient. Um, so what people are saying is, why doesn't China help its allies? China does help its allies. I mean, if you look through history, Korean War, they helped North Korea. Vietnam War, they helped Vietnam. Uh, During the recent Pakistan-India war, they helped Pakistan. They helped Pakistan a lot, actually. So China does help its allies, but the countries, you know, friends and allies, they also need to help themselves. I think the story is, why was America allowed to fly in with helicopters? Because helicopters are easy to shoot down. They are the easiest things to shoot down with anti-aircraft, or shoulder pad, man pads, they're called. You know, they are like Jaguars. I mean, sorry, javelins. And why was America allowed to go into Venezuela and steal the president with not even one shot fired? So that's a major issue. China can send weapons, but if you're not going to use those weapons, what good are they? If there's a lot of corruption and your military is not is basically allowed to be bought by the CIA, then there is major issues there. However, I do agree with some netizens. Some netizens are saying that if there is a if there is a multipolar world, or if there is going to be a multipolar world, then there needs to be two camps. One camp with the West, and another camp led by Russia and China. And Russia and China needs to show the world that if you are with Russia and China, if you're part of that camp, if you're part of the BRICS and SCO, if you're friends with China and Russia, you're buying weapons from China and Russia, you're doing trade, you're doing, you are basically, more than friends, then I think China and Russia needs to have more responsibility in protecting their friends, because the Western elites, they are ruthless. They will go into your country, steal your resources, and colonize you and control you and stuff like that. So that's what people are saying in netizen. I completely understand. You know, However, I don't think Russia and China are ready to govern a multipolar world just now, just yet. I don't think either of the countries are ready. Russia's too busy with Ukraine, as everyone knows. And China is not ready yet because China doesn't have 800 military bases around the world. Their main focus is getting, island of Taiwan back. Their second focus is South China Sea. Their third focus is that southern Tibet with India. I think China needs to focus on those areas first before they can, extend their reach to other parts of the world. For example, everything, the genocide that's happening in Palestine, I'm sure a lot of people would have wanted China to help. But the truth is, there's nothing China could do because Palestine is surrounded by American bases and Israel and all the Muslim countries surrounding Palestine. They're all bought by the West. There's not much China can do. If you're not there fighting, then what can China do? I mean, Egypt is pretty much with Israel. You have UAE, Saudi Arabia. They all support Israel. Jordan. Every time Iran fires a weapon towards Israel, all these countries shoot it down. And if all the Muslim countries got together and fought against Israel, Israel would not have a chance. Even with American money and missiles and military, they would not have a chance because you know there is just there is no amount of money or weapons can fight all the Muslims if they join together, all the Muslim countries. I think Israel is surrounded by at least six Muslim countries, by the hip. Because the surrounding countries surrounding Israel are Syria, Lebanon, Jordan, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, and also UAE. It's not joint to kind of Israel, but still, they support Israel. And you have Iraq as well. So all of these countries, they could have done more, but they didn't do more. If there is a genocide happening against your own people, you need to stand up as a Muslim and you need to go and help your brothers and sisters. But these Muslim countries basically allowed a genocide to happen, and then they blame China for not doing enough. I mean, come on, guys. If you're if you're living in a house and your brother and sister are being killed by your neighbor, are you going to go and protect them, or are you going to blame your are you going to blame one of your friends for not coming to help you? Your first instinct is you are supposed to go and help your own family. You're not going to blame somebody else for not coming to help. You need to take responsibility and do what you can to protect your family. So this is the same thing. If your brothers and sisters are being genocided, as a Muslim, you have a responsibility to help protect those people, not blame China. I think on the internet, I've seen a lot of people blaming China for Venezuela, saying, "Oh, they should do more. They should do more. China's not a superpower. China's a paper tiger." They're saying all of this stuff, but they don't understand China. That's why. They think that suddenly overnight China becomes a world police, world military power. Suddenly they think, oh, China becomes like America and starts, or the Soviet Union, and starts taking over the world. That's what they want. But it's not the case. China never wanted that. China does not want to be the world's military police. China does not want to become like America. China is you know, very much in support of the UN. They love international law, international order. They want to go along with the international world. Unfortunately, the UN is broken, and everyone can see that. So there needs to be a new system. But things are happening. Things are happening. I mean, what the Americans are doing to Venezuela, in Palestine, what they want to do to Greenland, they want to annex Greenland, they want to also, fight Iran. They're only doing this because they know their days are numbered. These are the last days of the empire, guys. And they're only doing this because this is the only time they can do it. Because 10 years, 20 years later, when China becomes much stronger, Taiwan is reunified with the mainland, and Russia is much stronger, and they have resolved the Ukraine issue. There's no stopping the multipolar world. China and Russia together, with BRICS, with SCO, they will be probably 2, 3 times more powerful than the United States. And the United States cannot go around doing what they're doing to Venezuela in 10 years or 20 years. So they know that, time to do these things, time to do genocide in Palestine, time to, take over leaders from other countries, time to start wars with friends of Russia and China is now. Because they know Russia is fully tied up with Ukraine, and they know China is still building up its military, building up its economy, and China is still not ready yet. I mean, they still, you know, their they do have aircraft carriers and stuff, but their main focus are shores with around China. They are not there to project power into South America or the Indian Ocean or to Europe. China is not like that. They have a 5,000-year history, and they have never been like that. They have never tried to invade Japan. They never tried to invade, Europe or the Americas. Only the Europeans did that, and it's only the Japanese who became quite powerful with European weapons that then they decided to invade China. But China had plenty of chances to stop Japan from becoming powerful. Back when China was one of the most powerful nations on earth. So you see, people don't understand China much. I mean, China is becoming powerful, and I think in the future, when BRICS, SCO, China becomes more powerful with its military, I think China can have more military bases around the world. They can project power, and Russia can help them as well. And I think they can both do it together. But unfortunately, it's not now. And I think the West can see that, and this is why the West is taking full advantage on China's friends, like Venezuela, like what they're doing in Palestine. Next, they're coming for other China's friends, like Colombia, like I think we're gonna do something with Nicaragua again, even Panama. All the South American countries who are friendly with China. I think they're gonna dispose those governments and replace them with pro-US or pro-Western governments. I think that's what they're going to do. But that's the way of the world, guys. These are the last days of the American Empire, and Rome did the same thing. Near the end of the Roman Empire, they did the same thing. They were starting wars. They were acting crazy in the last final days. So yeah, my message is China needs to be patient, and I think everyone else around the world needs to be patient as well. Um, the American dollar is collapsing due to the heavy weight of the debt, and it's not long now. I don't think the economy is going to last that long, guys. I think it's coming to an end. You can see the gold prices shooting up every single day. The dollar is losing its value every single day. Inflation is running wild. People are living paycheck to paycheck. American economy is a huge bubble waiting to be burst, and I think when that happens, everything else will fall like a house of cards. So you just need to be patient. Anyway, guys, that's the end for today, and I'll see you in the next video. I'll do a video about Greenland next. Take care for now.